Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? So let's look at some of the points of measure that I've been able to do that have changed and transformed my life. Number one, and this is probably arguably the most difficult aspect of this, is the acceptance. The acceptance that bad things have happened to you. And acceptance is not culpability. So let's be very clear about that. Acceptance is not about you taking responsibility for parents who didn't take care of you, communities who didn't love you, and having the lack of support and nurturing that one needs in their developmental years to become a normal, functioning, sustainable human being. That's not what we're saying. What I am saying is that you have to accept that those things actually happen to you. And the biggest mistake that I made was constantly trying to push those things down, pretending that those things didn't happen, trying to hide from the truth and the reality that I was hurt, that I did suffer, that I had massive amounts of trauma and abuse, that I was hurt in ways that most people can never fathom nor understand. And the more that I stuffed those things down, the more that they came out in these really negative coping mechanisms. And I stuffed it down because I was scared. Like, truth be told, I was absolutely terrified. People would see it and they would think I was weak. I would feel shame and guilt. I would feel like if other people around me knew the things that had been through, that I wasn't a man. And more so, if I could cope with those emotions that I felt by making them go away, it meant that I was strong. And that's a dangerous place to play, because when you do that, and this doesn't just apply to men, this applies to anyone who has had traumatic experiences. When you do that, the thing that comes from it is that you actually shut down the capacity to connect with other people in a human way. If you want to impress somebody, you show them that you're perfect. If you want to connect with somebody, you share your truth. And I was always pushing towards being perfect, because if I was perfect, that means nothing could hurt me. If I was perfect, that means nobody could touch me. If I was perfect, that means that every single day that I walked down the street, that I lived my life, then that meant that the trauma didn't matter. And so the more I stuffed it down, the more it came out. And it came out in a lot of ways, a lot of really detrimental ways that I'm still paying for decades later. Drugs, alcohol, sex, addictions to things like porn and video games and television, and spending money at the mall and clothes and shoes and, expensive restaurants and all of those things. I was addicted to the external. And that addiction to the external, I felt at the time, would help fill me up, would make me feel like a person. But I'll tell you this, I've never owned a pair of shoes that made me love myself. And because of that, that is where this really starts, is looking at the acknowledgement and saying, I accept that these bad things happen to me. I'm not responsible for these bad things, but I'm not going to hide from them. Because when we hide from them, they will show up whether you like it or not. Now, that's probably the easier of these steps.